We have with us Mrs. Bandana Preyashi. She is a 2003 batch IAS officer from Bihar cadre, and she is posted in Gaya between 2012 and 2013, and she has done a lot of reforms in the PDS system of Bihar. And she is presently O.S.D to Minister of Communications and IT. And along with her, we have her team, Mr. Fahad Arif. He is from Oglacs software. And we also have Mr. Akhilesh Kumar. He is the ex-district supply officer of Gaya. Ma'am, we welcome you all on behalf of CIPS and SPIPA. And I request you to kindly proceed with the presentation, ma'am.
Good morning. First of all, I must thank CIPS for recognizing the efforts of Gaya administration towards ePDS reforms. I was posted in Gaya in the year 2011. By that time, that was my third district assignment. So by that time, I was aware of the problems that plague the system. And being my third assignment as a district collector, it was the time to act. So presentation before you is a collective effort of my team which is present here, which has worked tirelessly towards reforming ePDS in Gaya and subsequently in Bihar. Next. So this is the format of my presentation. I will first briefly talk about the statistics, Gaya statistics, and then the situation before 2011 and post 2011. What was the real objective behind this ePDS? The preparations, the PDS architecture which we brought in, how the system benefited for it, what was the long-term impact, the challenges therein that still exist, and what is the way forward. But before I begin with my presentation, these are the few timelines, the milestones which I want you to have a close look. In the year 2005, the Planning Commission came out with a report which said that while across India the amount of food grains which did not reach the intended beneficiaries was 57%, as compared to that in Bihar 75% of the food grains did not reach the intended beneficiaries. In 2007, Bihar government introduces color-coded and bar-coded coupon system. Now this can be called as the first turning point in the PDS reforms in Bihar. What were these color coupons? Every year, every beneficiary family would get 12 coupons, and this coupon was their entitlement. When they went to the dealers to collect their entitlements, they would give their coupons, being assured of the right quantity and the right amount being charged, and in return they will get their food gains. The dealer in turn would collect all these coupons from the beneficiaries, collect them, submit it to the marketing officer. The marketing officer would create the next month's allotment on the basis of the coupons collected. So this system had two advantages. First advantage was that it spread tremendous awareness about the entitlements among the beneficiaries. People for whom the PDS were intended finally had power in their hands. And second, no dealer could take the allotment for granted. If he did not collect and submitted the right amount of coupon, his allotment could go down. So there was a flexibility in terms of allotment. So this was the first turning point in the history of PDS reforms in Bihar. Then in August 2011, we launched Gaya ePDS. 2014, Bihar becomes one of the first states in the country to implement National Food Security Act, and many tenets of Gaya ePDS becomes the backbone of implementation. And of course, a few bit was added, which we are going to explain later. But because Gaya PDS was there, the implementation of National Food Security Act became very easy for the Bihar government. And 2015, so 15 Economic and Political Weekly of this year says that Bihar PDS seems to improving in a way that few observers would have thought possible of 5 years ago. So this is the timeline, and this is the structure within which I would be making my presentation. So I'll quickly glance through it, that there are around 5 lakh families which are beneficiaries, which includes BPL and Antyodaya. Antyodaya would be poorest of the poor. There were 24 blocks. Total allotment is given here. It was 6.5 crores worth of allotment which would be sent to the beneficiaries. There were 1915 FPS which would distribute the food grains, and the godowns were 16. Next. So I'll begin my story from here. The story of PDS reforms begins first with the analysis of the existing system. So in 2011, as I said, when I joined, and after having experience of 2 other districts, the extent of problems were very well aware. I'll begin with how the whole process, I'm sure everybody knows about it, but very quickly I'll go through it. Food grain, this is the food grain movement. First, what happens is FCI collects drafts, deposits it in the SFC collects drafts, deposits in FCI, FCI releases the quota, issue order basically, then SFC will send trucks to FCI, bags are counted and manually loaded, then they are dispatched, a dispatched report is manually sent to SFC district manager, and the gate pass is issued, and commodities are then sent to SFC godowns. Then the same way trucks arrive at SFC, bags are counted and weighted, stored, then again weight is checked, and what happens is the entry report, what we call it, arrival report, is reaches the this district manager manually. And from there the fair price dealers, as per their rosters and allotment, collect their stuff, getting their own vehicles. So this was the manual process which was going on at that time. Next. Now I'm going to come to the problems at each level. I'm not going to get into the problems at the level of FCI because it was outside the purview of the state government, but there is an issue of very systematic theft from FCI. And this was in hand in glove with the transporters, and lot of food grain leakages would happen at this level. They would deliberately delay the entire process. Since the process was manual, the release of issue order, the release of dispatch report, actually physically releasing the trucks for SFC, they would deliberately do it at late night or late evening, so that we could not track the trucks. So, and the labor union is very strong. So if you try to have some reforms there would be problems from the labor union. So FCI was a problem, and in fact when we tried to, under ePDS Gaya, when we tried to install CCTV cameras here, there was strong resistance and we were not successful. Next. SFC is more under the state government, it's actually under the state government. So here the problems of SFC was that when the trucks left the FCI, they would not even reach SFC. The entire trucks would be diverted and they would go in for the grains would go for black marketing. Or if the trucks actually reached, raste mein they would take out the grains, and then because there was no system of inventory management, if 100 quintals left, probably 60 quintals would reach. Or third way of pilferage was that from each bora, they would take out certain amount, 5 kilos, 6 kilos, 10 kilos, and then the amount reaching SFC was less than what was actually dispatched. As I said, there was no inventory management. There was only a kind of a register where things would be written, and an old chalan kind of a thing, which would be physically sent everywhere. There was no weighing method also. So every bora would be kept on a tarazu and weighed. So it was actually labor intensive and also unscientific. Though though there were orders issued for physical verification of crude grains, it was not done. So the manipulation of data was very easy. In paper, the entire amount released from SFC, FCI would reach SFC, and in paper, all the dealers were collecting the allotment quotas. So in paper, everything was very good. In actuality, it was not happening. And added to that was because it was a manual process, so the depositing of draft, collection of drafts, their depositing would lead to a delay in lifting of food grains. Therefore, in 3 months' time, only 1 month's food grain would be lifted. Then, added to that, godowns, insufficient godowns, they were in need of renovation, poor storage, and lack of manpower. So So in all, SFC was one place which was totally demotivated, and problem of perception was there that everybody was supposed to be corrupt and they could not be improved. So the people had almost given up on SFC then. Next. The problems of FPS. As I said, there would, after every month, the dealer would have to deposit the draft. So the draft could, so that they could receive their months of allotment. But this manual process would take so much of time that a dealer would suppose deposit a draft in January, they would not get the quota in January. They'll deposit the draft for February, again they will not get the quota. So for at times it happened that they had deposited around a lakh of rupees without getting any quota. And because SIO store issue orders was issued by SFC, so one person would sit and issue the bank, okay. So the drafts were deposited in the bank would send a report, then the report ka milan hoga with the allotment of the FPS owners, and then SIO would be issued. The whole process would take around 40 days. So the dealer's money was stuck for around 3 months. They would get allotment for 2 months, and lifting could be done only for 1 month. And who was the ultimate sufferer? The ultimate sufferer was the beneficiary who was not getting the entitlement of quota because of this delay in the manual process. Subsequent to that would happen that delay in information regarding allotments and rosters. Then, of course, there was a very symbiotic relationship between fair price dealers and the SFC. There were certain very dabang kind of dealers, what you call are the powerful dealers. They would bypass the roster. They were the people who would get their allotments, and they were the people who would, in the sense, take their allotment and actually go to the black market. So and there were certain have-nots dealers who would be bypassed in the system. By the time their turn came, they would be told कि आपका तो allotment खत्म हो गया, इस बार allotment कम आया है तो आपको नहीं मिलेगा. So there was a symbiotic relationship. There were two kinds of dealers, and of course there were thefts and diversion and pilferages. And FPS owners were also subjected to lot of coercions. There will be people who would demand certain, make demands on them. There were corrupt practices, whether they were officials or sometimes even public representatives. So they were under a lot of pressure and coercions. And plus, as I said, the coupon system was introduced in 2007. From that, the coupon became a physical thing which had to be physically lifted, physically counted, physically maintained. So it was becoming a mammoth thing to manage. So a scientific coupon management system was important. And for FPS owners also, grievance redressal was very important because they were not all black or they were not white. There were certain good who needed help. So we started a system of monthly meetings where even their union members were invited for the meetings so that their grievances could come to us, but I'll come into detail when I come to the solution. So this was the problem at the fair price shops level. Next. The problem of beneficiary, everything actually boils down to the problem of beneficiaries. When the system is so prone to leakages and mismanagement, the beneficiaries were the ultimate sufferers. They had no information till the coupon system was introduced, and even that they were very vulnerable to manipulations. They had no awareness regarding their entitlements. One of the biggest problems was that the fair price dealers would give, instead of giving their total quota of 35 or 25 kgs of food grains, would give less and charge more. They would also ask for 2 months of coupon and give only 1 month of food grain. They did not have a grievance redressal system where they could, because for everybody to go physically and complain to a collector or to the marketing officer or to the SDO was not possible. So an easier method of grievance redressal was not there. And irregular opening of the FPS created a lot of hassles for the beneficiaries. So beneficiaries, I said, because the ultimate aim was to reach them, they were the ultimate sufferers in the whole system. And then this was my problem. Administration, I'll begin with the last point. There was total loss of credibility for the administration. Right under your nose, there are cartels, there are people who are functioning, and they are pilfering things and you are helpless. Only thing you can do is improve the system through surprise inspections and flying squads. It means one fine day I get up in the morning and I call my officers and say I'll go to this particular block and this particular panchayat and I'm going to check all the FPS dealers whether they have doing this or not, and then suspend them or cancel their licenses. So it was like a hit and run case. You know, it's like किसी का शनि का दशा चल रहा है तो that dealer loses his FPS shop. There was no systemic methods to which I could actually see the system functioning well. And you know, there was increasing complaints. We used to have Janta Darbars every Thursday. So 50% of complaints would come from the beneficiaries saying that we are not getting our benefits. So how do we, then coming to the first point, the whole as I said, everything was very manual. So the report will arrive only at the end of the month. So if I'm doing my review in February, I'm actually reviewing what had happened in January instead of planning what should be done in March, because there was no system. So if and that too, that information was totally inauthentic, manipulated, and I knew it's unauthentic, but there's no way to verify. There was no database. It was difficult to cross-check and verify. Then, as I said, suppose I'm reviewing in February, and I'm doing what wrongs happened in January, and then I'm actually just having a meeting, maybe getting very upset about it, maybe coercing my officers to do their best, but it was only a kind of a post-mortem being done, rather than a proactive effort to improve the system. So there was responses were delayed, and there was interventions were delayed. So and there was in the official machinery there was no accountability that who is doing what, why are things going wrong, and for this the solution was when we needed a scientific and transparent method of data analysis, and that was very important. So I said this was the problem. This was our problem. It was very difficult to when we used to go to the fields for a field visit. It was very difficult to face the people and say that yes, I'm the collector, I'm supposed to be the head of the administration, and I'm not able to stop this particular pilferage which is affecting around 5 lakh families in the district. Next. So this was the objective behind the ePDS. One simple line: right amount of food grains reach right beneficiaries. This was the aim with which we were working. Second was, we wanted to weed out corrupt practices through ICT and M-governance, improve delivery mechanism, spread awareness among the stakeholders, bring in transparency and accountability, and restore credibility of the administration. So this was the objective behind the ePDS, which we started in 2011. Next. So this is how we began our preparation. We began with the threadbare analysis of the existing system, especially with the we had a series of brainstorming sessions with all the stakeholders, and two conclusions we reached. First was a complete end-to-end automation was a must, and second, the stakeholders should have access to the monitoring. These are two ends of the spectrum. You improve the supply chain, and you empower the demand chain. So this is what the conclusion was. Let's have complete end-to-end automation. Second, empower the people who are actually the beneficiaries. Then we did a study of various existing PDS solutions, the one developed by NIC, there was one at Chhattisgarh. We studied all those systems. And I'll come to the issue of finances later. We composed a core team. We started our process of formulating the solution. Then we selected a vendor. But as in government, finance remains a problem. But thankfully, at that time, there was a scheme called Integrated Action Plan, IAP, of the Home Department for the Naxal-affected areas. And Gaya, as you know, was an extremely Naxal-affected area. And with IAP, there was a committee of collector, SP, and a district forest officer, and they had the flexibility of picking up any scheme which would, in the end, help in development of Naxal-affected areas. So under IAP we picked up this scheme because this was the only scheme which gave us flexibility to do something at the district level, and this also gave us the complete freedom in terms of finances. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened. The concept probably would have died. Because in government, getting finances for any system is very, very difficult. So IAP came to our rescue. We had enough, we had 30 crores rupees annually, and we used only pittance of that money for this particular ePDS. So this is how we began our preparation. First was the digitization of existing database. So any possible database, whether it was beneficiaries, whether it was coupons, ration cards, food grains, government functionaries, people, vigilance committees, dealers, bank account, trucks, stocks, SFC godowns, everything was digitized. So this was our first stage towards ePDS. And then simultaneously we did a baseline survey among the beneficiaries to know what exactly is the status, their status in terms of, it was a very basic form which talked about whether they actually got their quota of food grains on time or whether not on time, and XYZ, whether the dealer was giving their food grains or not giving their food grains. So a basic sample survey was done so that we could do an analysis, say, a year later. So first step, digitization of database. Next. Second was the training, because everybody had to be trained. First, it was a training into the technology, and second, training into a new thought process. A thought process where leakages will not be taken for granted in a system. So first, we train all the official functionaries, the marketing officers, the godown managers, FPS owners, you name it, we trained everybody. Then apart from that, we had series of meetings with the truck owners, the labor unions, public representatives, everybody who could be part of the system. And we developed a system of Saturday meetings. Every Saturday in the evening, we all would meet, we'll discuss our problems, and then review what had happened in the last week and prepare for the next week. Even if my other engagements would end at 7, we would have this meeting at 7:30. So it was totally non-negotiable. This meeting in presence of everybody was a must because it was important to take everybody on board. Third was very, very important because we could not have done it only through supplying the system and not having a conducive environment for it to develop. So we started what was called the Apurti Jan Adalats, that is supply Jan Adalats. So my SDOs and the responsibility was given to SDOs to go to the different blocks, to the panchayats and organize these Jan Adalats. Then we organized Gram Sabhas, and through Gram Sabhas we spread the information regarding the problems plaguing the ePDS, plaguing the TPDS and the solutions from the ePDS. We started a system of concurrent social audit, where the dealer would be there, the marketing officer would be there, the SDO would be there, and public representatives and people would be there. And there'd be a sort of all-out war there. So people would actually question each other. So it was a very healthy system of bringing out the grievances. And then it was mandated that there will be a panchayat level Anushravan and Nigrani Samiti, that is monitoring and vigilance committee. We really strengthened this. And we said every Friday? Saturday. Every Saturday they also had this meeting, and we created a pro forma for filling up the what happened proceeding of the meeting. We did not want कि बहुत सारे stories लिखे जाए उसमें and people would only talk about something bypassing the real issues. So we prepared a standard pro forma for the proceedings. So you just had to fill it in, how many people were there, what were the decisions taking, how many complaints came. So we strengthened this Anushravan and Nigrani Samitis. And these two were very important because they created an environment where ePDS was accepted, and they created an environment where awareness was the key and empowerment was the key. Next. So now after creating this atmosphere, the real ecosystem, I bring to you the architecture of the ePDS. So as I said, the digitization of record had taken place. With the help of our vendor, we developed an MIS which actually was a totally end-to-end automation, right from depositing of the drafts by the dealers. Then we coordinated with the banks for they would deposit in various banks. So we had a discussion with lead bank, and I make it sound very simple, but it wasn't simple, as all of you know how difficult it would be to face these challenges from within the system. So we coordinated with the bank, and then now once a month the money could be transferred to SFC. Then SIO, which was a manual process, and it was so the 18th century system. This system we made it into automated system SIO generation. Every month, after 10th of every month, SIO had to be generated after money came from the banks. So it was totally in, say, autopilot mode. Once you deposited the bank account, the things would start moving on its own. So this was the office work. So once SIO was generated, what we did was for tracking the trucks. This was very important. This put the fear psychosis in the mafias. We put GPS tracking in every truck, GPS devices. So through that, and we put the route chart in the GPS. So if you have to travel from A to B, you have to take this route. It will probably take 2 hours to reach. And if they would tamper with GPS, or they would change the route, or they would stop somewhere, say more than say usual time, an SMS based alert would be sent regarding the diversion to all the officers concerned. So this really put the fear of God in the mafias, because and we had a screen in the collectorate where we could track each and every truck, the movement of the truck, stoppage of the truck, what are they up to, so we could really monitor that. Second, what we did was weight was an issue, because when the truck left the FCI, they would be weighing say 100 quintals. Once they reached the SFC, they would be weighing around 60 quintals, but there was no way to understand, scientifically understand it or pinpoint it. So we introduced integrated weight management system. Every go down was given electronic weighing machine. So at FCI, the empty truck would be weighed, then the truck with the food grain would be weighed. And the data would be generated into our central server, the weight of both of them. And the driver would be given a challan for that, but he had no clue what is the weight of the machine or what is the weight of his consignment. Then when he would come to SFC, again it will go on to the weight. It was a reverse process. First the truck loaded with food grains would be weighed, and then the Khali truck would be weighed. And again central database would have a report saying if there is a margin of error, if there is any error, if the food grain has been offloaded somewhere. And if that, it would generate a report, automatically generate a report saying that, yes, it actually, say 10 quintals are missing from this particular truck, and then we could immediately catch hold of the truck owner and the driver and the people involved. Same thing, when it came to distribution of dealers, we had weigh machine put, and every grain was weighed and given. So then what happens was that FPS owners also take the right amount of food grains to their shops. And from there, we proposed, but we could not do it, but in the Food Security Act, the government of Bihar has incorporated doorstep delivery of at the dealer shop as well. And here what they have gone ahead and actually introduced GPS in these trucks as well, these tempos, trucks or autos which were there. So this we had proposed our system, but because of lack of paucity of time, because it took a lot of time to implement, we could not do it, but we proposed and government of Bihar has accepted this, and now it has become a part of system, doorstep delivery to dealer shop through GPS enabled autos. At the same time, we started the moment the dealer would lift his consignment, an SMS alert would be sent to all his beneficiaries, to the public representatives, the Mukhia who had won and Mukhia who had lost the elections, their supporters, everybody would get this SMS, and to the village monitoring and vigilance committees, that this particular dealer has left the SFC go down at this particular time and at particular date, and he is going to start distributing from this particular date. So this system again empowered the people. They would know where exactly, and this was done in vernacular. Apart from that, we also had an email and SMS based grievance registration system, and then a toll free number for registering complaints, Apart from that, we also had that you could upload any video. If you saw good record, you could upload that video and we would take action against those people. This again point of sale recording at fair price shop we had proposed, but the cost was going very high, so we had to we could do it only in one block, but we have a prototype of it, and now we have come up with a solution which is much cheaper than which was earlier there. So this point of sale was to be interrelated with the Aadhaar. So this was there. And as I said, there was a coupon system. So what we did, the coupon management system again was very important. Every beneficiary, as I said in the earlier part of my presentation, was given a coupon for 12 months. So the name of beneficiary, say Mr. XYZ, he got coupons say from 1 to 12. So in our database, it would be entered that Mr. A has got coupons worth 1 to 12. And the moment he submitted his coupon to the dealer, and it would be scanned, our database would say Mr. Coupon's January's coupon has been given to the dealer. So the coupon management system became very good. So the coupon, like I said, one of the problems was 2 months coupon, 1 month's grain. This through coupon management system we could bring down the incidence of that. So basically, and again, last point is that, as I said, godowns were the need of renovation. There were not enough godowns. So again, under IAP, we made godowns in every block, and also those godowns which are existing but were broken and the storage was suffering and the grain was getting destroyed. We renovated all the godowns. So this also helped in physical infrastructure, helped in really improving the system. So the whole architecture was both software and hardware, and it was totally from the moment the food grain lands in FCI to the point of sale where the beneficiary collects the quota of entitlement. But I'm not a technical person. I'm only an administration who can feel the problem, who was searching for a solution. So from next line onwards, I'd ask my colleague Fahad to explain the nuances, the technicalities of the system, and so that you know how exactly the system functioned.
Thank you very much. So from here on, I'm going to explain to you the internals of the system, the technology and methodology that we used in coming up with this solution. So we knew the problem statement from the district administration. We had to understand it very carefully in order to come up with a solution that checks all the leakages, all the problems, and gives out a solution that caters to the need of daily functioning of the administration. So this presentation, the technical presentation, is not about the demerits of other system and merits of this system. We are not comparing any system with this system, but only talking about the good part of this system and the challenges that we faced. So the MIS part of the system is developed using Microsoft.NET framework. Just to keep in mind the interoperability, that the system is usable across all the browsers, and we are not using any fancy language for developing the website or something. And also it has to work very seamlessly and very fail-proof method with the SQL server database. So that's the reason we use Microsoft.NET framework. At the back end of this web interface, there is a centralized database that stores real-time information like any other database. Provide real-time information and process the data at the same time. Through the MIS and the post-processing of the data, we could generate reports like inflow, outflow, inventory, theft, arrival, and dispatch report. You can see the information of the daily transactions in the numerical, graphical, and other formats. You can manage grievances online and assign issues to concerned person. So this is a very important part of the system. See, like I can see that almost all the web portals, government web portals, have got grievances system, but they are very one-sided radio format grievances system. So I remember one incident that I was writing to Delhi government for some, like a very responsible citizen of India, but the website did not even care to say thank you to me. So that's the nature of our grievances system. That gives you no hope of actually talking to the administration and thinking of bringing out some change. This grievances system had a complete loop with the person who's complaining about anything. We kept the person in loop, give him status updates of what's happening on the complaint and other things. I'll take you further on this. So, single point of management for all the operations of PDS. The core of the system is basically electronic web bridges. So there are some systems currently functioning in India which are using cheaper versions of web bridges. So you can have a 2 lakh, 3 lakh web bridge, but if it gives you an output of the weight and some person, a manual intervention is required to enter the weight into the data, you defeat the purpose of having that web bridge, even if it is for 2 rupees or 2,000 rupees. The better option is to go for a dearer, more expensive web bridge, but it has to give the data directly to the system. The moment you involve or insert any manual intervention in the weight processing, that's where you defeat the purpose. So we actually went for a dearer version of the web bridges. Those were giving us the output directly to the system. So all the web bridges give you data on the serial port. You have to develop a utility that can directly fetch the data from the serial port and insert automatically to the database without any manual intervention. So there is a challenge here. The .NET framework cannot directly open a port, do a query on the TX and RX buffer of the port, fetch the data, insert into the database. So you need to have a utility in between that fetches the data directly from the web bridge and puts into the database. So that was a kind of a tricky part of it. And probably this is the reason that some systems around still have got manual entry of the data. So trucks leaving the FCI and reaching the SFC had theft in between. So we would weigh the trucks leaving from FCI electronically, send and give out a slip which mentions all the statistics of the truck and the weight it's carrying. The same truck, when goes to SFC, would be weighed again electronically. So if there is a loss in between of the food grains, it will be automatically detected. And without any manual intervention, the theft report of the error that we received at SFC would be sent out to the designated officials. So in this entire process, there is no manual intervention. And actually that controls the maximum part of the theft from FCI to SFC. And of course, on the way to SFC, to monitor the entire process of the journey, we have GPS tracking. The moment a truck leaves FCI, we dispatch the truck, the weight is inserted into the system database. The moment we press enter and submit the ticket, the GPS journey starts. And in the Gaya administration, government secretary, district secretariat, there is a 75-inch screen, dashboard screen, where you can see in real time the start of the journey. To check further on during the journey, the diversion, the stoppage alerts, we have different provisions in GPS packet that we can smartly process and create different kind of alerts. So automated inventory management, grains received by SFC warehouse from FCI's warehouse, sales to SFC dealers, all this was part of the MIS and electronically weighing. So by simply putting electronic weightments and GPS, we could control the losses in the downstream supply chain, because it's a domino effect. If you have some theft at the FCI, that theft is going to multiply at the SFC because it's going to be new theft at SFC, and ultimately the beneficiary will suffer in a domino effect. So you have to tightly control the entire part of the supply chain so that in the downstream, the losses are minimized. Doorstep delivery, as Madam told that it was part of, we have thought about it, and later on it becomes a part of the National Food Security Act as well, that the food grains from SFC, not only from FCI, also from SFC to the FPS dealer, the government, the district administration has to send the food grains directly to the FPS owners. For that, we require different kind of infrastructure. We require government-owned transportation. We require PDS or POS systems, GPS tracking at the same time. So this entire process has to be taken by the government simply because we don't have any excuses till the last node. We'll make sure that the food grain has reached the last destination. It's just only the disbursal to the beneficiaries is required from that point onwards. And we can employ different technologies to ensure that the right amount of food grain has reached to the final node of the supply chain. So if we are transferring responsibilities from one person to the other at three different stages of the supply chain, we are actually kind of making system very error prone. If there is one single person, single window responsibility about picking the food grain from FCI and sending it, dispatching it right at the door of the beneficiary, it also helps in reducing the theft. So like I said, all those trucks can also be GPS enabled. The next automation process was SIO generations, as Madam explained that there was a lot of backlog of SIO generation. That SIO of January was getting released in April or something. So those sort of issues were there. So we have fully automated SIO generation that required us to actually talk to different partners of this process. And the process re-engineering required us to talk to the bank using their APIs. They're sending us the data of all the transaction with the dealers. We are uploading that in the MIS and generating the SIOs. So right now the situation is that the SIO generation is happening almost in real time. So the January SIO is getting issued in January, and the beneficiary are getting their entitlement within that month. GPS tracking of trucks. Of course, this is a very catchy item in entire ePDS solution. And likewise, the best utility of GPS is about creating different kind of alerts, because you only have a packet from GPS coming, and to create different kind of alerts is about making the best use of the GPS. So in order to keep the best coming out of the GPS, we have created different kind of alerts like stoppage alert, diversion alert, SOS alerts are coming to us. There are different kind of problems, like when a truck is leaving FCI, right? It used to get diverted. It left for example, some block in Gaya, and it was reaching to Patna and getting sold out there in the black market. So we had to define the journey from FCI to the designated SFC, because we know all journeys are anyway designated. So one truck leaving from FCI has to reach certain SFC. We knew it. So we just had to put source and destination, and we also could configure that what route should you take, so that you cannot claim for delays. So we had to define via points. So that's kind of a contour setting in GPS. So if you define that kind of a movement of a truck, you can easily detect diversions. So if there are diversions, it's not a manual thing, there are automated alerts coming to us that the certain truck has taken a non-designated route. Apart from that, the thefts were happening that the truck would stop on the way in between, get unloaded, and sell the food grains in the black market. So we'll get the stoppage alert. There is an offset that a truck cannot stop on the way for more than 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and that's up to your convenience. You can configure all these alerts from the back end. So if the truck stops on the way to the destination for more than 10 minutes, I'm just taking a ballpark figure, you'll get an alert. Supposing some calamity happens during the journey, you have an SOS button. Supposing somebody is tampering with the GPS and pulls out the GPS and throws it. The GPS should have the battery backup for a certain amount of time so that we can track the presence of the GPS device itself, because it's an expensive device. We would not like it to be lost. So there's a battery backup of few hours in the GPS device itself. It keeps sending us the location, SOS alerts, all sort of things, and we can directly map it to the maps. In the dashboard, you have different views. You can see the truck only view, one particular truck you are interested in, and you can also have a fleet view in which you can see all trucks in the active journey. This is a typical GPS dashboard in which you can see a list of different trucks in the active journey, and there's a map overlay of all those trucks in the active journey. Citizen portal. We do talk about the involvement of the people in the system, but are we really giving out necessary and user-friendly means to the people? Because we know that the public who's going to interact to us is not that techno-savvy at all. So we need to provide very easy to use, the maximum that we can do to the people so that they don't feel hesitant and shy from connecting to us. So we provided SMS-based short code registration to the system. So you just have to send us a short code and you get registered. You start getting the feedback, you start getting the updates. If you want to complain about something, you can put photos, images, live videos, and act as a citizen journalist. You can create complaint and you can see the actions being taken on your complaint. So you are kept in the loop until the complaint that you have made is resolved. You can see the status updates and all the transactions, all the communications happening. If a particular complaint takes more than a month or two, whatever time you specify, that complaint will be directly raised to the district administration, the DM. That's called auto-escalation of the complaint. So all these mechanisms and methodologies are very simple to actually do, but that's differentiate one system from the other. Because nobody is putting in very high-end technologies into it. It just requires a different, checks in the system itself. We thought about mobile-based application, Android app, 4 years ago. That time, people were like, okay, right, it's just like a wannabe thing. But right now, and just to mention that the smartphone penetration was not that much during that time. It was still a Nokia time. So right now, we have very cheap version, 5,000. You can have an Android running phone. So this mobile application makes a lot of sense around this time and going forward. So we thought of this mobile application not for the public, to be honest. We thought that the district administration are mostly in the field. They don't have the luxury to actually go to their offices, camp offices, and sit in front of the desktop and then check for one of the operations of the district administration, Gaya PDS, what's happening there. All these things have to be on the go. There should be a dashboard view, not only of the PDS, but different kind of schemes and functions of the district administration. All those should be app-based and on the smartphone. Because rest assured, the government administrators, higher officials can afford smartphones. This makes a lot of sense, and I would definitely pitch for it. I pitched it for 4 years ago. I would pitch for this even now. It's a very easy to use, very high abstraction view of the mobile application, because in mobile application you would not like to get lost into different kind of options. We brought everything up. On a single click you can see SFC report, FCI report, dealer status, beneficiary can check their status and everything. Different kind of reports again in the mobile application. Point of sale terminal. POS remains one of the most challenging items in the entire supply chain, just because, not because of the technology blockage, but because of the financial problems. We have different solutions in the market available, but if you go for a good POS which can store some amount of data, which can speak out, which has loudspeaker in it, which has a 3G connectivity, and all sort of and have a thermal printer, have a fingerprint if you want to link it to the Aadhaar. All to that specification would make the device very expensive. And if you have to give it to every FPS shop, it becomes a very expensive affair. But if Akash tablet would have made its day, probably we could have built a solution around Akash tablet platform. So because we can rip off any tablet core and build a POS around it. It just requires an off-the-shelf components to build a POS, very good POS indeed. Different kind of reports as typically you see in all the PDS, so not much to talk about. Just to show you that we are in sync. These are graphical high abstraction views of inventory management. At SFC, for example, we had a problem of inventory. We did not know how much is going in and how much is going out. Even if we knew, we did not know in real time. So look at this view. This gives you a clear picture monthly that what was the offtake and what was the inflow to the SFC. Report generation, you can query into the database using drop-downs and generate reports of your choice. Because you would not like to always see fixed, defined reports. From here to here you see this report. You can also select your own drop-downs and select the data of your choice. Again, this report. E-Procurement. The other part of the PDS is basically procurement, the food grains coming to the government. So this is the e-procurement architecture. Again, we require an MIS integration. So existing PDS MIS would serve as the MIS for e-procurement as well. So another problem for the procurement is that the farmers getting you food grains does not have the right amount of moisture. In the sense they are more damp, So moisture control is one of the key elements in procurement. So we have dampness sensors and we have very nice devices around it. That also they are also feeding data wirelessly or wired to the MIS. Again, we require integrated weight management. So the point here is that the same PDS infrastructure and methodology can be employed in e-procurement, and that would tightly control the entire supply chain right from the farmers to procurement to the people. GPS tracking, like in PDS, GPS tracking would be useful, and financial inventory management. So this is how we're going to do automated procurement. Having the same kind of infrastructure, barcodes, electronic weigh bridges, we can weigh the incoming food grains to us. Using quality, using for dampness monitor sensors, we can check the quality of the food grain. All that data going into the web-based interface MIS and generating different kind of reports. So much like PDS, the procurement would be just a replication and scalability problem. And by just doing this, we would have a very tightly controlled ePDS solution. So this part is a proposed part, the e-procurement. So benefits of the solution. Of course, there are benefits in computerization of anything. From a manual process, it's always fast, it's always real time, it's always error free. You don't have any excuses. You always have a data to actually talk about it and take some actions based on a data point. Improved traceability, you know the movement of the food grains. You can hold anybody accountable of any losses. First of all, you can define the responsibilities, you can categorize, that also enhances the accountability of the officials. Because previously in the manual process it was like buck passing, somebody is making somebody else responsible. Reduction in losses and theft, yes, we can proudly say that we have a near zero tolerance in the errors. if supposing 100 kgs is leaving from FCI, I'm just taking an example, and if 99.5 is reaching SFC, we raise a question. So over the time, we have come to almost near zero tolerance. So load and unload of the right quantities of the grains on truck, yes, by electronically weighing without any human entering the weight, looking at the screen and then entering the weight into the system, you can safely ensure that the right amount has arrived or not. Of course, you manage the system better. You have all sort of reports. You have you can monitor employees, their roles and assignment, archive record easily and retrieve them quickly whenever you want. So in the district administration, just going for Saturday meeting, update meeting, their weekly update meeting, they just have to pull out the reports 5 minutes before going to the meeting, and you have a data to talk about it. That has empowered the administration and the people at the same time. Public interface, I talked about public interface. It's very important to empower people in the end of the day. And for that, we need to create easy means for the public to get registered and make them feel that yes, you are involved and you're participating in the system by keeping them in the loop. So in order to make the registration process easy, we have made SMS based short code registration. We are sending out SMS alerts about the FPS, how much FPS has lifted this month. Oversight and bottom-up oversight for the administration for complete food grain supply chain from FCI to warehouses till the fair price shops. State-of-the-art solution. So everybody says that my solution is the state-of-the-art, but it's just for the audience to judge whether the solution is state-of-the-art or not. You need to have a very simple solution which actually taps all the point of leakages. You have to develop a system honestly and definitely it will become a state-of-the-art. So from now on, Madam will take on.
So when I left the district about 2 years after implementing this particular system, I would talk about the impact. After 2 years, we saw that the incidents of diversions and threats had definitely declined. But you know, human beings are ingenious, so I'll not say that it was totally done away with, but it surely declined to a point where it was started getting appreciation from everyone. The stakeholders particularly felt very empowered. As I said, stakeholders means beneficiaries, the public representatives, the fair price dealers. They felt very empowered because the system had improved and the people were getting their entitlements. There was a change in perception about the PDS. At the time when DBT was becoming a buzzword, where people are saying that just let's do away with the system which will not ever function, which will remain prone to leakages, we brought in a system which changed the perception and they said no, PDS could function and giving food to the people rather than cash should be the solution. And finally, which I can say with a sense of satisfaction, the administration functioned a little more efficiently than it would do before through reports and tracking, accountability of the officers and proper inventory management. But the journey this far was not easy. Next. I don't want to go into the recognitions and feedbacks which we got about it, but we go to the next slide. No, iske pehle. Challenges. Yeah. So these were the challenges we faced and some of it still continue. One is the resistance within the system, because there is a part of the administration which does not want things to be successful. So there has to be both political and an administrative will to quell this resistance, overpower them and let the system function in its entirety. Then, especially in a state of Bihar, the technology is, e-governance is not really taken off as it has done in the southern states. So there is still a lot of distrust of the technology and they feel that a lot can go wrong with the use of technology. So this is a mindset we still have to fight. The FCI needs to reform itself. Even if the SFC and FPS are reformed, if the Gangotri is not controlled and reformed, things are not going to improve, and this is up to the central government, not the state government to do. Implementation of National Food Security Act. This is going to be the future because a lot of states have started implementing, and Bihar, as I said, is one of them. And National Food Security Act actually talks about reforms in the PDS. There's an entire subsection which talks about it. And fortunately, out of those 9 reform processes it is talking about, around 6 of them are present in Gaya ePDS. So this challenge of implementing National Food Security Act can be met through ePDS, and of course things have to be built up upon the ePDS gap, which the state government has done. Problem of infrastructure will remain, of connectivity, of power and unskilled manpower. This has to be dealt with in a more comprehensive manner. The bankers have to be taken on board. They have to be a part of the system. And this is very, very important. The last point is the selection of beneficiaries. A lot of states have done work in terms of cleaning the system by removing the bogus beneficiaries. Bihar has been one of the first states to use SECC data. You would know SECC? Social and economic caste census data. It has been one of the first states to use this data through using an exclusion software to select the beneficiaries. This has been, I'll say, to an extent, very, very successful, because the earlier BPL list had a lot of errors and there was a lot of complaints, but through this SECC data, I will not say that it is totally clean, it is totally error-free, but by and large it is very clean. So this data can be used subsequently by using exclusion software to identify the beneficiaries. So this is one of the challenges, and I suggest, like the Election Commission every year goes for a system where addition and deletion of voters take place. And similarly, we could have a system where SECC data, the beneficiaries are given an opportunity to add their name, subtract their name, or change their address, if like the Election Commission does to the voter list. So these are the challenges which are still there. I will end my presentation with the way forward. And this is this is not only about PDS, but as a person, as an administrator who is going into now reached central government, and I'm now looking at the policy formulation. I think there are people who are sitting here who are going to be having a say in the policy formulation. I think these are the things, issues should be raised. The POS Aadhaar linkage for authentication and identification is a must. This is the future. A lot of states are talking about biometrics and other solutions. I think the Aadhaar linkage is a must because I'm in the Department of IT right now. We are working for e-voting. There's a machine which comes for 1800 rupees which can identify fingerprints. If we have that machine of 1800 rupees linked with Aadhaar and with the POS, there will be the impersonation will go away. The beneficiaries can be authenticated and identified, and food grains given to them. The fair price dealer will never be able to offtake their share of grains. So this is important. We have to link midday meals and Anganwadi system into this ecosystem. We had already started in Gaya for midday meals. The moment SFC transporters would pick up their grains from MDMs, we would send SMS alerts to the block education officers, the school principals, and similarly for Anganwadi centers, there are transporters who pick up food and it goes to the centers. The similar process has to be adopted. So the entire ecosystem is ripe for bringing in midday meals and Anganwadi centers into this. Similarly, there is a lot of leakages in LPG and kerosene distribution, especially kerosene. I think this can be also streamlined into this ecosystem. Then, as we said in the presentation, procurement has to be a part of, has to be incorporated into this distribution cycle. I'm very happy the Bihar government has picked up our suggestion, and in the Right to Food Security Act implementation, in e-Procurement has become a part of it, and I think Bihar has shown a way for entire India to make this part of the whole system. And last is something very, very dear to my heart. Seamless integration of database for pan-India entitlements. We are talking about portability, but I'm going beyond portability. I'm saying that if a worker in Bihar goes to Punjab for 2 months to migrate, work as a migrant labor. Why should he be denied his entitlement? Why can't he claim his entitlement in Punjab, saying that yes, I have my Aadhaar card, I have my entitlement, I want my entitlement from Punjab. There could be a grain bank, like an ATM, or some other a dispenser, so that anybody, not only the portability can be extended to pan-India. My laborers, a rickshawala in Delhi comes from Bihar, and he'll have to get that BPL card made again. He has to go through the entire process, and probably he'll never have this BPL card and get his entitlement. Then he's totally denied of it. And under Food Security Act, each person is entitled for 5 kgs of grain. So this seamless integration of database has to take place so that any person, out of compulsion or otherwise, is traveling across India, he can or she can claim entitlements anywhere. So this is the future we are talking about. And there are systems available on cloud. We can use it on cloud. All the states need to work together so that we come to a stage of portability where geographical boundaries are not barriers. And with this thought, I end my presentation. Thank you so much.